Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and today we into the lore of the most recent volume once again and take a look at King Ramposa III's downfall and the circumstances that had led to it. But before we do so, let me thank my Patreons for supporting this channel. Now, King Ramposa had 5 children, 3 girls and 2 boys, and his firstborn son, Crown Prince Barbro, was tall, handsome and reasonably skilled with the sword. But he was a bad politician and statesman, short-sighted, prone to make rash emotional decisions, and painfully prideful. The king's second son, Prince Zanek, was short, plump, and overall ugly, but he was smart, cunning, and well-read. He understood economy and how the empire used the kingdoms to wage war against it. But he was the second-born prince, with no right to the crown, and the father couldn't decide who should bear it ultimately. Disappoint Barbro, who he loved dearly, but also couldn't bear the thought of him sitting on the throne. And a younger brother, who would be far more fit to rule, simply couldn't be nominated. And like the king was split and couldn't decide, the court split as well into a faction supporting the Crown Prince Barbro, in order to grab power from his cumbersome hands, into a royalist faction that would rally behind Prince Zanek, and into a third one that would remain indecisive. But the king had a third child at his side, while their 2 older sisters had been already wed. In order to secure alliances, Renna, the Golden Princess, beloved by the people and far too smart for everything she was supposed to be, but as the spare of spares, she was never ever seen worthy of the throne. Court, tradition, and etiquette would forbid it. And this entire predicament could very well hail from a fairy tale, like many of the kingdom's locations, themes, antagonists. But this is Overlord, and the story takes a fairly realistic approach to everything that was going on. For all of his efforts, all of his valor, all of his love for his sons and his kingdom, as well as for his daughter, Ramposa was truly a man from his kingdom. He failed to break free from the constraints, the passivity and lethargy that lulled the realm to sleep a long time ago. Had he chosen Zanek, both his sons would have survived. Likewise, if Renna would have been allowed to govern from the shadows and unite with Climb in it, Prince Barbro would have been a glorious figurehead for a prosperous realm under him. But the king lacked such vision, and kindness alone is more often than not a bad advisor. That had led to 2 devastating wars with the sorcerer king Ainz Ooal, 2 entirely preventable ones. And for all of the pity he had for his eldest son, he didn't have nearly enough to spare for his youngest daughter. And so, he had chosen leniency, where the situation demanded a hard decision on the matter of succession, and he had to be strict, where otherwise leniency would have been possible as a consequence of the first big failure on his part. Had the situation been different, Renna might have been able to become the leg up the king needed to save his kingdom, long before another, or even the first war with Ainz Ooal had taken place. But with the court split, and the nobility ever hungry for power, he needed Renna as a pawn in order to sway another noble to his side, and thus save his firstborn son from the influence of the nobles, who would otherwise make him a king in name only, and then puppeteer him from the shadows. While Ainz did unspeakable things to the population of Riestais, he did everything he deemed necessary to protect his nation and his children, no matter how harsh or cruel it was. In the end, similar how the kindness and idealism of the Holy Queen meant her destruction, while Renna prospered thanks to her duplicitous nature, her genius mind, and the complex roles she had to play in order to get what she wanted, regardless of who else might suffer. King Ramposa III's leniency doomed him and his realm, his restraint, and his unwillingness to hurt the feelings and the pride of his firstborn son, as well as to go against the court's tradition and established rules, had been his undoing. And even though he was later willing to break every protocol, etiquette and tradition that existed by offering his own head in order to avoid yet another war with the Sorcerer Kingdom, at that point it had been too late. His considerate restraint, meant to protect his oldest son, had also been vain, and he died on the sidelines of the Cat's Plain to a horde of goblins, of all enemies. Not the death Prince Barbaro would have wished for himself, this is sure, and he might have even lived, if only a little bit longer, if he had stayed at his father's side. The convenient way out fairy tales normally offer such a kind and considerate king was never found, because in the harsh world of Overlord it simply didn't exist, and the gentle king's realm still fell victim to infighting, and finally 2 devastating wars, because of his unwillingness to be as cruel and ruthless as it would have been necessary in order to fix the situation. I mean, the fresh-blood Emperor Jerknith earned his nickname by essentially culling the noble population down to a more manageable size. In the end, King Ramposa died like his country, weakened, depleted, long past his glory, and at the hand of a person that should have been a protector, but turned out to be its doom. And this is the tragedy of mercy, empathy and compassion, because a king needs to be cruel, even to his own flesh and blood for the sake of the country. To rule is a burden, and not an amnesty, something that Overlord hammers home quite well. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Adam J, Al Capone, Andy, Angel of Death, Bad Guy Yee, Ben C, Boyzilla, Chappie, Chrissy, Conquer All, Dash, Death is Mercy, Diabetic Centaur, Dystopia, Elika Birchleaf, Phalis Catus, Thural Shivan, Forbus Gurupulon, Gigafight, Ghost of Epicness, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Black Phoenix Emperor, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, Kleinator, Chromius, Large, Lifa, Legendarius, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Lord Ulbertalane Oddle, Lo Says Ollie, Laxus Fox, Majima, Mad C, and Marcos, Michael R, Mr. Shoes, Mindless Wrath, Minnow 13, Mirtis, Inferior's Potion, O'Kill, Paddy Pantom, Primus 11, Sasuga Einsamer, Sebastian, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Surge, Sparkly Unicorn, Sunlight, T.E. Wang, The Mad Alien, The Orc Warboss Rock Ed Smasher, Ultra Suck, Vash Hawkeye, Venture Fanatic, Zoggo Bane of a Lot, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video. Over and out.